Hi guys, today we're talking about how to organize data. Your learning objectives. I can make and read a tally chart. I can find the median, mode, range, minimum, and maximum for data. And I can use data to make prediction. By the way, you might say data and I might say data, but it means the same thing. So let's get started. In class, we're going to be doing a little project together. We're going to be getting some data, and it's going to involve packets of raisins. Hopefully you like raisins. I know Mr. Nutty likes them, so if you don't like them, he'll eat them for you. But we talk about when we get data. Sometimes I ask you to make a guess, and sometimes I ask you to make an estimate. There's actually a difference between the two. If I'm asking you to make a guess or you are making a guess, you really have no clue at all and you're just kind of throwing something out there. My guess is that it's going to be 42 degrees in a couple of weeks. I really have no idea at all. I'm just kind of putting a guess out there. An estimate, however, is when you have a strategy. You have a way to actually solve for a closer answer. We call it an educated guess. All right? So that's the difference between a guess and an estimate. So I'm going to ask you in class with your raisins, before you even open the box, you are going to guess how many raisins are in the box. There's really no way for you to know, right? So it's a guess. So after you make your guess, you'll write it down. Let's say that my guess was 52 raisins. I haven't opened up the box yet. But then we're going to open up the box. And without pulling them out, I'm going to ask you to count the number of raisins in the top layer, and then you can estimate the total number. So we're having some information already, and that's going to help us estimate how many raisins. So let's say I opened up my box and I saw the top layer of raisins, and then I'm like, okay, did some math in my head, and I actually found out that there were 62 raisins in my box. So my estimate turned out to be a little bit higher than my guess, and that's okay. But finally, I'm going to ask you to pull all of the raisins out of the box, and you will find out how many are actually in there. And when I counted my box earlier, it was 31, so I was way off, clearly not good at guessing or estimating, and that's okay. So let's move on. As a class, we're going to make sure we do this twice to make sure we get an accurate count. This is how we get good data. We count it twice, just like checking your work twice. And then the fun gets to start. So I'm going to do a mock or a trial of this here. Over here, I have what's called a tally chart. Tallies look like this. They're vertical. They look like number ones. We get to number 5. We do it across like that. So they're grouped in 5s to help us keep track of data really easily. I'm just randomly going to put some numbers up here. I did some research online, and generally in a small box of raisins, it turns out that you're going to have somewhere between about 20 and 40 raisins, believe it or not. So if I were you, I would be the one that would want the box with the bigger amount of raisins or the higher number of raisins in it. Let's say though, in one box there's 25. My column here says number of raisins, so this would be the number of raisins in a box. And this would be the number of boxes in our classroom that actually have that number of raisins in it. So let's say one box is 25, one box is 26, one box is 27, one box is 28, okay? And in a random trial that Mrs. MacPhail and Mr. Nutty did, we found that one of our boxes had 25 raisins, 2 of our boxes had 26 raisins, none of our boxes had 27 raisins, so I'm just going to put a 0 there. Although 0 is not really a tally mark, so I'm going to take that off. And we had 3 boxes that had 28 raisins in it. So 3 times we had 28 raisins in a box. 2 times we had 26 raisins in a box, and 1 time we had 25 raisins in our box. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes total, and this is the breakdown of the data. So we're going to come back to this page a little bit later, but before we go on, once we start organizing our data, there's also some other things that we can do with it once we get it in our tally charts. And one of those things is to talk about landmarks. And a landmark is something that stands out. You might hear someone tell your mom or dad, When you're going down the road, just take a right after the water tower. Or you might hear me say, well, the music room, it's down by the gym. Landmarks are things that stand out to us, and in data, we have landmarks that we can use to help us make more sense of the data too. Some of our data includes maximum, minimum, range, and mode. These are numbers that stand out to us with our data. The maximum is going to be the largest number of something, in this case, the largest number of raisins we found in our boxes. The minimum, on the other hand, is going to be the smallest number of raisins that we found in our boxes. So maximum is the biggest and minimum is the smallest. The range, we have to do some subtraction. We subtract the minimum from the maximum to find the difference between those two numbers. And our mode is the most popular, if you remember our mean, median, and mode toads. It is the most frequent number of raisins found. It is the one that happens the most often or the most popular. So, knowing that, we're going to go back and take a look at our data now. And I would show you this page, but I don't have my tally chart done, so we're going to skip all the way back to this page and see if we can fill in some information now. So what is the maximum or largest number of raisins that I found with Mr. Nutty in my boxes? So if we look at the largest number of raisins found, 1, 2, 3, it would be 28. So 28 raisins in a box was the largest number of raisins that we found in a box. The minimum or smallest number of raisins found would be 25. And then to find the range, or the difference between the maximum and the minimum, we have to subtract. So our maximum was 28, so this is a subtraction problem now. 28 minus the minimum, which is 25, and we would have 3. So 3 is our range. And the mode, or the most popular or most frequent number of raisins found, you're going to want to look for your tallies that have the highest number. Okay? I just have 1 tally here, 2 tallies here, but I have 3 tallies here. And that is the most out of all the tallies I have on here. So, the most frequent number of raisins found, don't say 3, we're looking for the number of raisins found. It would be 28. So 3 times we found 28 raisins in a box. That is the most popular. All right, that's all the time we have for today. We'll see ya and the raisins in class later. Bye-bye.